Hi, I'm Richard Luccheo. I'm the art and architecture critic of Time magazine, and I'm here today at the Highline Park in Lower Manhattan with one of the designers, Rick Scofidio. His firm, Diller Scofidio and Renfro, helped to design this very unique park in a disused railway bed, along with James Corner Field Operations, a landscape architectural firm. And today Rick is going to give us a tour through this incredible, unusual, and very, very successful new park. Rick, the park was conceived in a way as a series of episodes, visually and almost sometimes emotionally.
I tend to think of it myself, I tend to think of it like a musical composition, that there's one theme that is continuous. The planking system, what you call agritecture, the way that feathers into the grass, the way you can move and wander through that. It starts with establishing the theme, and then it plays with the theme. And it changes, like the plants, as it moves into different areas.
The Highline Park is situated in the track bed of what was once an elevated railway line that ran down the west side of Manhattan to transport freight to the factories and warehouses that lined that part of town. The railway tracks originally ran at street level, but that turned out to be dangerous for pedestrians and drivers. So in 1934, the city transferred them to an elevated bed about 30 feet above street level. But the gradual disappearance of small manufacturing in Manhattan meant less business for the railway over the years, and in 1980 it made its last run. Grasses, wildflowers, and small trees sprouted in the soil that the rail lines were embedded in. The whole thing became an urban ruin. For a long time, everyone assumed that the moribund Highline tracks would be torn down. But in 1999, two local residents, Joshua David and Robert Hammond, formed an organization called Friends of the Highline in the hope that it could be preserved and put to some public purpose. Eventually, they got the City of New York to sign on to the idea, although no one was entirely sure yet what the idea was. It started to take more concrete form in 2003 when an open design competition attracted hundreds of proposals. Construction began in April 2006, and the first half-mile stretch of the park opened to the public in June of this year.
It's a park that really celebrates the city. And people up here will walk 20 blocks, which they would never do 30 feet below us. You might walk 1 or 2 blocks, but that's considered a lot. Up here, people stroll. The pace of their blood pressure, the New York angst, drops down. And I think one of the keys to that is just the flight of stairs, which brings you slowly up, brings you under the structure, lets you appreciate this kind of wild construction, and then you emerge into the landscape.
The park was constructed by removing the railroad tracks and completely digging out the bed, then cleaning and reinforcing it before laying down a concrete base. Then soil was filled back in and long stretches of the tracks relaid precisely where they had been before. I like the fact that the designers of the Highline understand that street life in New York is a spectator sport. It's a characteristic of recent work by Diller Scofidio and Renfro to include a bleacher-style seating element with each new building. But the grandstand at the Highline is the best one yet. It looks down 10th Avenue through a glass wall that turns the view into something like a widescreen movie, with traffic and pedestrians supplying the action. One of the things I admire the most about the Highline is that it's taken an old piece of New York infrastructure and brilliantly repurposed it without turning it into an exercise in nostalgia. The Highline Park hasn't merely preserved the old railway line, it's brought it back to life as a fully functioning and completely contemporary part of the city. Well, Rick, after working on this project for almost 4 years, how does it feel to see people actually using it?
Well, it's amazing when something first opens, all I can see are the problems, things that we call the punch list that the contractor still has to repair. But a few times now when I've been up here, particularly in the evening, and just kind of slowed down, take my own blood pressure down, it's really wonderful to watch the people. I don't look at the park, I look at the people. And that gives me kind of a great insight that we've really accomplished something I think that's important for the city. And I do think it's a new kind of park. I don't think there's anything like this anyplace else in the world.
This is Richard Luccheo for Time magazine.